slowly but surely. The internet has been really slow this week, so I hope that we're going to be live for the whole time this time. Hey guys, welcome to another one of our live session. In this session, we are going to be answering all your questions about traveling in New Zealand, because we kind of are the experts of traveling in New Zealand, aren't we, Laura?
Yes, this is Robin and I'm Laura, and we're the team behind NZPocketGuide.com, which is New Zealand's largest travel guide, because it literally has thousands and thousands of articles to help you plan your trip to New Zealand, whether you're just traveling around the country on a 2-week camper van road trip, or you're spending the whole year doing a working holiday. We do all that stuff and cover all that information on nzpocketguide.com. So that is pretty much the best place to get your questions answered when it comes to traveling in New Zealand. But the other good place to come when you need your questions answered is to this live Q&A session, which we do every single Sunday at 8 a.m. New Zealand time. So you guys can come onto the live chat and ask your New Zealand travel questions, and we will do our best to answer them for you. But if you do miss the live session, we also pull together the questions that we receive in the comments section of any of our YouTube videos, and we also take the time to go through those as well and answer them during this live session.
All right, so as usual, you put all your questions and all your comments in the live chat, and we will read everything that comes in the live chat, including Anthony Comstock that says Morena from California, USA. If you guys don't know what Morena means, it means good morning in Maori, which is the local indigenous language. He's also asking, is that cheese town really abandoned? Laura, that cheese town, Eltham, is really abandoned?
I don't think it's abandoned. When we were there last, there certainly were a few people, maybe 1 or 2 people walking about on the streets.
So for context, guys, if you want to watch our video about Eltham, where we go try to visit the cheese capital of New Zealand, you will see that we've seen no one. There was no soul living there except a couple of people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was quite
most of the most of the shops in the town just had closed. They were just signs up, all boarded up and stuff. So it used to be a really thriving town, because it was sort of the hub of dairy farming and sort of, dairy products and stuff back in the day. But now it's kind of those sort of industries have shifted elsewhere, and leaving Eltham with all these beautiful sort of rich looking buildings and stuff, but not much else going on there.
Yeah. Sherry Rusworth says, good morning. Sorry, I missed last week. So if you don't know, Sherry is from Australia. She's popping almost every single week. So yeah, good morning to you too, Sherry. Thank you very much for being awake so early. I didn't show the time. Did we talk about the time today?
I briefly mentioned it, but we can go through that.
No, that's fine. Okay. I can just show it like that while we talk about stuff.
Okay.
Jalo Alpha says, which kind of job is easy? Well, I don't know if any kind of job is easy. I mean, entry-level positions are usually easy. So, filling up shelf in stores, I feel like it doesn't really require much skills, and so it's a kind of an easy job. Lawyers sounds kind of easy. You just chat to people for about an hour or 2 a day, and then you make a lot of money. I think lawyers is kind of an easy job.
Yeah,
but you have to study a lot.
Yeah,
for that.
I feel like there's easy jobs to get, but they're not necessarily. I think
that's what he's asking. Otherwise, he would have said that. I think he's asking what kind of job is easy.
Well, yeah, I'm going to get into that.
Okay.
So there's easy jobs to get, but even the easy jobs they're obviously also quite, they do have their challenges. For instance, in New Zealand, there's a lot of easy jobs, which could be fruit picking or stacking shelves and stuff in supermarkets, but they're still quite labor intensive. If you're not physically fit and stuff, then maybe you would find that challenging. So yeah, I mean, we such a vague question, which kind of job is easy. I guess it just depends on, well, what do you find easy?
Yeah.
What do you find difficult? So
what do you feel like doing, Jalo?
Yeah, tell us more. Give us more context.
Dio HDX, that is the name and a half, my friend. He says, please tell us something about Switzerland borders opening to New Zealand. We actually do have a video on the channel with our prediction for borders opening in New Zealand, but as of yesterday, we are celebrating. I don't know if it's really a celebration, but we are marking the 6th month of the border closure in New Zealand, and there is not much end in sight. As you will see when you're going to watch our prediction of border openings for New Zealand, you will figure out quickly that we are only seeing the borders of New Zealand reopening next year at the earliest, if not quite well into the year. The New Zealand Treasury have made an announcement this week saying that they don't see a full reopening of the borders of New Zealand until 2022. But again, that is projection from the Treasury, which means like basically border reopenings with no extra restrictions like quarantine and everything like that. So that's to take with a massive grain of salt. But I really invite you to check our video on our border predictions. We will update that on a monthly basis. So if you want to subscribe to the channel, you'll be able to get notification when we do those updates. And that, so far, this is what we're sticking at. So I don't see that opening until about March or later in 2021. But that's only predictions, obviously. And I'm sorry for the bad news. Placid Tambu Jr. says, hello, I need to get to New Zealand by December from Cameroon. Is that possible? I want to spend Christmas over there. Well, first, thank you very much for watching us all the way from Cameroon. I think you're the first person from Cameroon we've ever had. So that's really awesome. So Placid, sadly, I don't think that you will be able to make it to New Zealand by December unless there is some drastic changes in the New Zealand policy. So the silver lining for you is that we are having some major elections here in New Zealand in October. So in mid-October, we're going to be electing a new prime minister. Now, if we keep the current prime minister, the current kind of control of the borders is probably going to stay as it is, meaning that there's going to be extreme restrictions and the borders are probably going to be closed all the way up to and well into 2021. Again, you can definitely check out our videos on the prediction for the border openings that we have on the channel, where we give you a lot of context and a lot of explanation on what and why, we are making those predictions. So I think it's more important to actually watch this video because it's 24 minutes in which we literally give you all the context so you can understand why we're making those kind of predictions. Now, if we are changing prime minister and it's another party, politicians likes to do things really differently one another so they can differentiate themselves. So they may make different policies and may open the borders earlier. However, December is highly, highly unlikely. I do not think that this December, and again, it's just my opinion, and I want to be wrong. I will like for people to be able to travel around New Zealand and come and experience how beautiful it is country as soon as possible, obviously. But so far, I do not see any candidate to open the borders of New Zealand at any point before 2021. And that's just my opinion, obviously. And I think my opinion is shared by Laura sometimes, in rare occasions.
Yeah.
All right. I hope that answered your question, Placid. And you do understand that sadly we do not have a full answer for you just because a full answer just doesn't exist yet. So that's why. Do you want to read what AJ say?
Okay, so AJ says, hi there. I hope everything is good. I have a wish that I will have dinner with both of you once in my life. I am waiting for opening the New Zealand borders. Well, that is very nice. We would love it if you could come and have dinner with us. So yeah, we also are waiting for the New Zealand borders to open. We wouldn't mind having dinner.
You will see Laura eat an ungodly amount of fries when we go to restaurants and to places like that. She gorgeous on fries. Always a side dish of fries. I'm just saying, there is always a side dish of fries with Laura.
What are you talking about?
Hamed Nabil says, hello. When New Zealand will resume immigration process? So Immigration New Zealand right now is currently focusing on processing immigration issues and immigration visas and everything like that for people which are currently in New Zealand, just because there is no end in sight for the lockdown. As mentioned yesterday, we marked the 6th month of the border closures in New Zealand, and there is not really an end in sight right now. So they're focusing on making sure that people which are currently in New Zealand stay here legally, because there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people which are currently in New Zealand on work visa, visitors visa, working holiday visa, student visa, etc. And they are here in New Zealand and their visa is about to expire. So all those people are being given priorities, and any application coming from overseas is not reopening right now. Now, I've mentioned already during this video that we don't know when the borders are going to be reopening. And for this reason, Immigration New Zealand doesn't know when they're going to start working on immigration processes again, simply because, well, if the borders are not open and people can't travel, well, then at that point, they're not going to start issuing visas, because they're going to issue a visa and you have 6 months to enter New Zealand, but nobody knows if you actually are going to be able to make it within those 6 months. So for them, that makes no sense to get started on that. So until we get some more understanding of when the borders are going to open, we will not understand when the immigration process will restart. Sherry Busworth say, I hope Jacinda gets re-elected. She seems to be one of the best people handling everything at the moment. That's a politic statement and we stay away from it. But Sherry, thank you very much for voicing your opinion. Someone with a lovely Korean name. I am absolutely unable to pronounce your name, so I'm very sorry about that. But someone with a lovely Korean name says, I hope it's Korean. I hope I'm not making a mistake. I hope it's not another Asian language that I don't know. I think it's Korean. And he says, was the weather nice in New Zealand? Laura, is the weather nice in New Zealand?
It's pretty nice. It's a bit of everything. So there's definitely variety in the weather in New Zealand. There's a famous saying that you can experience 4 seasons in a day in New Zealand, meaning that you can have a rain 1 hour, the next hour it can be bright and sunny with blue skies, the next hour it could be snowing, and then what's another season thing to happen?
Well, the wind, there's a lot of wind as well.
Yes, the wind, then it can be really windy. So yeah, the weather is quite nice because there is so much variety, and it does have a good sort of balance between like nice sunny days and rain, because that's what keeps New Zealand looking very nice and lush and green most of the time. So yeah.
And the good thing is that I was trying to call you by your name, but sadly I can't pronounce it. But if you are planning to New Zealand and you want to know a little bit more about the weather, first we do have full weather article on NZPocketGuide.com. There's a link in the description of the video, and we go through month by month. So let's say you're planning to travel in New Zealand in March, you will have all your weather pattern in March for all different regions, all written on our website. So that may be really handy for you. And we also have a playlist on this channel in which we go through the weather. We literally take the map of New Zealand and we go through the weather all around New Zealand for every single month. So you can watch us on video, go for about 10-15 minutes and go and tell you, well, in Northland in April, it's usually kind of good weather, blah, blah, and we go through all of that. So that could be a great way for you to get started if weather is very important for you to plan your trip. Now, with that in mind, I personally wouldn't focus too hard on weather when traveling in New Zealand. The weather is ever changing. It's an island. It changes all the time.
Yeah.
Now, New Zealand is amazing. Any time of the year, I would just come prepared, meaning that I would advise you to have waterproof shoes, meaning some, good hiking boots, which are waterproof, like Gore-Tex or any of those similar type of technology. Yeah. And a really good rain jacket that also protects against wind. If you do have that, you'll be absolutely fine traveling in New Zealand. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit colder or windier than some other days, but it will be fine. You can see us travel all around New Zealand during New Zealand's biggest gap year, which is a challenge that Laura and I tackled a couple of years ago, where we had to do 365 activities all around New Zealand in 365 days. And obviously, we had all type of weather then. And you can check out, for example, our videos of Milford Sounds if you want to check us in extreme weather in New Zealand. It's quite fun. And you know what? We didn't have any special gears or anything like that. We had a good rain jacket, we had good waterproof shoes, and we had a blast all around New Zealand. So I don't think that weather should be a major concern for you traveling in New Zealand. I hope that answered your question. If you do have any follow-up, make sure to put them right here in the live chat. We're here for you. Rock Jackable says, hey, thank you for joining us another day. I remember your name, so I think you already popped into our live chat before. Okay, Rock Jackable say, is there anywhere in New Zealand that the Aurora can be observed? Or how about glowworms? Very different questions. So let's start with the Aurora. Aurora Australis, what is that?
Yeah, so Aurora Australis, or otherwise known as the Southern Alps, is
Southern Lights.
Southern Lights, sorry.
But they're very often observed over the Southern Alps. So here you go. Okay, let's get started. Aurora Australis, where can you see them in New Zealand? What is it?
So it's kind of like, you've probably seen examples of the Northern Lights, which tends to be over the Northern Hemisphere and the North Pole. And that's sort of like those sort of greenish light displays that you see in sort of more cold areas of the Northern Hemisphere. And basically, not a lot of people know this, but there is the equivalent also in the Southern Hemisphere over the South Pole called the Southern Lights. And yes, you can observe them from some places in New Zealand. Because they're happening over the South Pole, obviously the further south you go, the better chances you are in New Zealand to actually see Aurora Australis. Good places to go and see the Aurora Australis is in Stewart Island, which is an island just off the bottom of the South Island. You can take a ferry down there. And other places you can check it out is the Otago Peninsula, which is really close to the city of Dunedin. Other places you can go is on the sort of mountain areas around Queenstown. And yeah, just basically there's certain conditions that you need to find in order to actually get really good viewings of the Southern Lights. First of all, you need a clear sky so you can actually see past the clouds. Typically you get a better viewing in winter, so usually you need to be looking in winter, and there needs to be actually some good sort of, I think it's called like slower energy or something.
Solar index, is an index, so
KPH, I think.
Yeah, KPHI or something.
Yeah, so there has to be like certain conditions that are happening in order for the light displays to actually be working or to actually be strong enough to be seen from New Zealand. So there's quite a lot of conditions that it needs to be in order to see the Southern Lights, and it is quite rare for people, if they're just traveling around New Zealand, it's very rare for them to actually see them. We personally haven't seen them whatsoever when we've been traveling around New Zealand. And typically, yeah, you need to usually get high up or somewhere very secluded where you can have really dark skies as well to see them. So the conditions, it's quite hard to get the right conditions. But
so we do have a video about the Southern Lights for you, Rock Jackable. If you want to check, you type Southern Light New Zealand, for example, on YouTube, and you'll probably find our video where we go all in detail with all the KPI and all those companies, everything you need to know about that. And on NZ Pocket Guide, if you click on the link in the description and you type Southern Lights just in the search bar of the website, you will find all our tips and all that, and you will have so much more information on there. Now, what about glowworms? Where can you see glowworms in New Zealand?
There are a ton.
We also have a video about where to see glowworms in New Zealand as well on the channel, and you can find more information on the glowworms as well on the website. No, sorry, you can give him an answer. Yeah,
there's actually a ton of places you can see glowworms in New Zealand. A lot of people think that you can only really see them in Waitomo, which is one of the famous places to see glowworms. And it is a really good place to go see glowworms because they do various different tours in order to do that. They do walking tours in underground caves. They do sort of boat tours underneath streams of huge displays of glowworms, and they also do sort of caving underneath the glowworms as well. So Waitomo is a really good place to see glowworms, but there's a ton of other places you can go to as well. In Te Anau, which is in the South Island, sort of on the road to Milford Sound, there is a glowworm tour there called Te Anau Glowworm Caves, which is kind of a similar thing to Milford Sound, where they take you across the lake to some caves where you get to see some glowworms up close, as well as going on a little bit of a boat floating tour underneath some glowworms as well. So that's another really cool option. And then you can see glowworms in a lot of free caves around New Zealand. For instance, there's the Abbey Caves, which are in Whangarei in the North Island. There's Waipu Caves, which are near Whangarei as well in the North Island. There's the Clifton Caves, which are in the Southland region near a town called Tuatapere. And yeah, the list really goes on and on and on. You can even see them sort of in the bushes when you're walking to Hot Water Beach in the Coromandel. Like, they really can be seen in a lot of places around New Zealand. So we do have articles on nzpocketguide.com. If you just type in glowworms in the search bar, we have tons of articles on like the best places to see glowworms, the different ways to see the glowworms, all the free places to see the glowworms. So depending on what sort of experience you're looking for, we have all that information on nzpocketguide.com.
Boom. All right, so AJ Shahal says, what is the cheapest city in New Zealand according to your point of view? Christchurch, I think as a city, that would be the cheapest one. But we do have an article on NZ Pocket Guide when we give you more information on that. And also, it really depends on kind of what are your job prospects and all those kind of things. But most of the time, actually, you will, if you want a cheap cost of living in New Zealand, you don't want to live in a city. We don't live in a city. We're living in a small town. And this is usually where you get the best ratio of, lifestyle and price and all that. So maybe consider not living in a city. But it depends, obviously. If your lifestyle is, you need city life, well, then I say Christchurch, personally.
Yeah. There are a few other cities cities that are less.
Invercargill is quite cheap as
yeah,
well.
that are lesser known in New Zealand. For instance, Invercargill, Whangarei, and New Plymouth. For instance, there's just like 3 ones that I can think of off the top of my head, which are probably, getting a house sort of or living in the suburbs of those cities is certainly going to be cheaper, perhaps even cheaper than Christchurch. So they're definitely worth looking into some of the smaller cities in New Zealand as well.
Dayo HDX says, do you think it would be easier to travel to New Zealand with a vaccine? It will depend on how widespread the vaccine is and how efficient it is. So I think we don't really have an opinion on that. It will really depend on what the New Zealand government decides, and it's really all up in the air right now because we have an election coming up. So we will definitely have a much better overview of what will happen in the month of November or December 2020 when the election is going to be finished. We know who's coming up, and then we know what kind of policies may be happening. But in the meantime, we'll keep you guys appraised on this channel all the time. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. And by the way, if you do find what we're doing useful, it's always awesome if you guys can hit the like button. It's a great free way for you guys to reward us for all our hard work. So that's pretty awesome. All right. Lucas, Clay, and Bella, don't worry, we're going to answer your question. We're just going down the list right now. So we are talking a little bit too much, but we will answer every single question. Don't panic. Stick around. Okay, so Rock Jackable says, is international driving license accepted in New Zealand?
Yes, it is, but it's only accepted if you also have your international driving license along with your actual driving license from your home country. So when you're traveling or driving around New Zealand, you need to have both your real driver's license and your international driver's license together.
Both of them,
yeah.
But yeah, it's accepted in New Zealand. That's why it's called an international driver license. Almost every country accepts it.
Yeah.
Okay, Lucas Yu says, hi there again. Hey, how are you doing? He says, how are you guys keeping up? I hope all is good over there in New Zealand. Oh, he's asking us how we doing. Oh, that's nice. Thank you so much, Lucas. We're doing really awesome. So New Zealand has most of the crisis under control right now. So that's pretty good. And it is spring in New Zealand. So the weather is warming up. So everybody's kind of happy. There's more, a bit more things happening.
Days are getting longer.
Yeah, days are getting longer. It's a bit nicer to go on walks rather than being poured down with rain.
Yes.
So life is pretty good at the moment in New Zealand. So that's quite awesome. Thank you for asking, Lucas. How is it going on your side? Clay Bryant. Hey, Clay, how are you guys How are you doing? So, guys, if you don't know who Clay is a local. He's living in Dunedin, and he's planning a trip on the South Island with his family because he wants to explore a little bit. And so, he's popping almost every week asking us one question. So I think he's planning his trip one question at a time. Yeah. So I like that. It's bits by bits when you have time. Anyway, so Clay said, hey, guys, change of our plans. Okay, top of the South Island is on hold for now. Before my sister-in-law goes back to Uruguay, when she can finally get a flight, she wants to do the Tongariro crossing and something around Mount Taranaki. Luciana would stay with the kids while we do the walks. Didn't realize the drive to start to only 20 minutes. Anything kids and partner could do to kill the time around there. So if you are doing the Tongariro crossing and your partner and your kid are staying around, there is a ton of really short walks and things to do around. Do you want to give maybe 3 ideas?
Yeah, so there's a lot of really cool waterfall walks they could be doing that are nice and short. One of them is Tawhai Falls. This is only a 20-minute walk to go see a really cool waterfall there. And then there's another, obviously they were going to want to do something a bit longer than 20 minutes since you will be doing that walk probably at the most about 8 hours. So also another thing they could be doing is going to the Taranaki Falls walk. This is a 2-hour loop. Probably with the kids, it will maybe take a bit longer. There's a good place to have a picnic halfway around in front of the waterfall, so she could stay there and have a picnic there. So that's a really cool walk, and it's very popular with families. We've seen a ton of families doing it. So
there is a video actually on this channel where we literally do the entire walk and we film all the way. So if you want to check this one out, you can.
Yeah, and also if they do have more time after that, in the in the village of Whakapapa village, which is actually where these walks are sort of based as well, there is the Chateau Tongariro. So she could be going to have high tea or lunch at the Chateau Tongariro, and just sort of, it has really nice views of Mount Narohoe when it's a clear day, obviously. And Mount Narohoe is that sort of cone-shaped volcano that was Mount Doom in the Lord of the Rings. So she can go and sit in there, enjoy the views of the mountains that you guys will be walking over, while she's sipping on some fancy tea, and the kids are having, I don't know, sweets and chocolates and stuff. They have lots of naughty sort of stuff over there to eat. So yeah,
you could even take the kids up the gondola and go show them the view. So in Mount Ruapehu, you have a gondola that goes up the mountain, and they get all those mountain views and everything. And there's a cafe all the way on top. So obviously there is a fee to do to get up the gondola, but I think that could be a fun thing to do with the kids as well.
Yeah.
We do have actually an article on nzpocketguide.com where we have like a ton of short walks around the Whakapapa village. So that may be one thing you may want to check out, Clay. That really helps. That will really help you kind of narrow down what you want to do. But I think if you pick any of her 3 options or my 1 option, you're definitely going to be able to keep the kids busy for at least half the day. Yeah. So you do one half the day, one the other half the day, and I think they're really going to have fun. But that's awesome that you're coming all the way up to the North Island, mate. That's the Tongariro crossing is really fun to do.
Yeah.
We do it regularly. It's kind of fun. Okay, Jay Belasius says, are you guys not afraid to sitting close to each other without mask from Canada? Well, the good thing with New Zealand is that we have everything almost under control, right? We have very limited amount of cases, and they're all in isolation or in government isolation. So within New Zealand, you kind of don't really have to wear mask. It's not even mandatory yet. The only place it's mandatory to wear mask will be to take public transport in Auckland. So that's where most people wear masks. But since the virus is kind of under control in New Zealand, there is a bit more of a casual kind of a way of life at the moment. And also, Laura and I will live together, all right? So, you're not wearing masks 24/7. So when you are with your partners in your house and kids and everything, you just don't wear masks. And I feel like most places in the world, they don't wear masks because you're within your own bubble. Yeah. So even when New Zealand was in lockdown, which, we've done 2 lockdowns so far in New Zealand, we were not wearing masks within our own household, which is where we're filming that from, our own household, because everybody's working from home at the moment. Yeah. But I really appreciate your concern, Jay Belarius. That's really nice.
Keep people right.
Yeah. Kathy White has retracted the message, but if you guys don't remember, she's from, I think she's in the US, Tennessee or something like that. MB 1968 is back, and he say Morena all. So again, if you guys don't know, that means good morning in Maori. So here you go. That's the local indigenous language. Yes, Kathy White say greeting from Tennessee, USA. Kathy, thank you very much for joining us another week. That's awesome to have you on board. Surya says greeting from Indonesia. Oh, that's awesome. Oh. Nice to have you on board, Surya. That's cool. Are you from Indonesia? Are you from Singapore? Or where are you from? No, Singapore is in Malaysia, isn't it? Yeah, it's in Malaysia. Yeah. Sorry, I was wrong. Awesome. Frankie says, I'm coming to New Zealand for student visa in 2021. Any advice for me, guys? Well, I will say don't pay any fees until you know that the borders are going to be open. Yeah, that's the first thing that I will be telling you right now. Don't pay any school fees. Don't pay any visa fees. Nothing until you know for a fact the borders are going to be opened, because most of the fees are not refunded. So
in terms of general student advice, we do have an article on nzpocketguide.com about what to do on your first week in New Zealand as an international student, in terms of sort of, like setting up your phone and your New Zealand bank account and just basically setting up your life in New Zealand. We do have a free article on NZ Pocket Guide. So
how do you find it when you go on NZ Pocket
Guide?
Well,
if you go onto the work in New Zealand or work in NZ category, the last category you'll see is study in NZ, and in there, you'll find lots of information to just like lots of handy advice there on if you're an international student.
Here you go. Extreme Talota say, Morena Kutu, how are you doing, mate? Thank you for being with us another week. Are you going to Rotorua to referee some rugby games today, or are you?
Or is it the end of the season?
Yeah, is it? Oh no, it's not over to the end.
I think he said like it was coming to the end last week.
God, it's so fast. The season is so short. We should make those guys run for longer. Clay Bryant says, haha, awesome. Thanks for that. I didn't even think about Mount Ruapehu. Well, when you're going to get in the area, you won't be able to think about anything else because it's kind of prominent.
Yeah.
You kind of can't miss it. So even if you plan to come, to this area, and then you forget that Mount Ruapehu even exists, you will get a pretty volcano-sized reminder. So don't worry, you will
definitely see it.
Yes. But yeah, I think you have plenty of options to keep the kids busy. And depending on where you stay, if you stay in like the town of Turangi, for example, there is even mini golf and there is whitewater rafting, there is those kind of things. So if you're willing to kind of pay and do some extra activities as well, for the kids, if you want them to actually have like do something slightly bit different, you can keep them really busy in those places, because the whitewater rafting on the Tongariro River is first quite cheap, and second, it's very, very good for kids because it's not too epic. And there's also mini golf there. So here you go. Lucas say, great to know things are all and well over there. Cases are declining Singapore, but the government management hasn't been ideal, like holding an election just after the peak cases here. Or Singapore's is not in Malaysia. It's a sovereign state at the southern tip of Malayan Peninsula, perhaps where the confusion come from. Yes, I got a little confused on this one. Sorry. Gus Roberts says, hi guys, I see my chances of going to New Zealand is more delayed as a tourist. Regards from Portugal, guys. Oh, nice. How is it going in Portugal? Are you bracing yourself for winter? Because I think winter is coming to Europe now, since winter is leaving New Zealand.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So yes, it looks like visiting and tourism in New Zealand is going to be on hold for another wee while. But Gus, if you do want to check out our videos on the prediction for the border openings, we do have a full video on that. Also, hit subscribe on the channel. That will help you get some updates when we update those videos. We do that about once a month. Okay, Rock Jacobal say, you missed my message, so I'll repost it. Okay. He says, thank you so much for the info between. By the way, oh yeah, I hate the BTW. I always get it wrong.
All right, Granddad, come on.
By the way, here it is 4:30 a.m. and I still stayed awake just to see you too. Thanks again for the great channel.
Wow.
Why are you awake at 4:30 a.m.?
I'm honored. Thank you.
Wow, that is amazing, mate. That's fantastic. I actually think there may have been a bug in YouTube because I don't even see it in the previous messages. So, guys, if we did miss any of your questions that you already posted, it's time for post it because it looks like we missed a few messages.
Yeah, it looks like we aren't getting any. Yeah, a lot of messages maybe aren't coming through.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, so Extreme Talota says talk to us about the rugby, and he says yes, it's an 11 a.m. kickoff next week. For the week after, it's going to be packed, as in men on one field and women on the second field. I'll be referring Saturday and Sunday, and next week then all day Sunday.
Wow, that's busy.
That's a lot of games. So if you guys don't know, rugby is definitely like probably the most favorite sport in New Zealand. Technically, there are more golfers in New Zealand than there are rugby players. But still, like the sport that kind of brings the most crowds and everything is definitely rugby. It's a religion in New Zealand.
It's probably the favorite spectator sport. Like a lot of people like to watch it.
Yeah. And there are a ton of different teams playing around New Zealand. So almost everybody that comes as a tourist know the All Blacks, which is the New Zealand nation kind of team when New Zealand is going to play against other nations. But there are a ton of local teams like the Chiefs, the Warriors, and the Blues. That's the only three one I know because that's the only one that kind of matters, I think. But I'm going to get a lot of hate right here.
Well, considering we're not huge sports fans either, they're the ones that you hear the most about.
Yeah. We're more into like kind of, doing activities around New Zealand more than watching sport, but that's just our stuff. All right, guys. So we have 22 people watching right now, and we have 13 likes. If you guys want to say thank you for all our hard work, the 9 people that haven't clicked on the like button just yet, just feel free to click on it. And that, that's just a great way to say thank you. And that will make our heart feel all big and warm. So thank you so much. In the meantime, you guys sometimes send us messages on the comment section of all our videos, and you can ask us a ton of different questions, and we did receive a question. So while you guys are getting warmed up with more questions, we're going to answer Warren's questions. Go ahead, Laura.
So Warren Van Wyck asked on YouTube, hey Robin and Laura, just curious where people traveling in vans can stop to take a shower. Are there places like hostels that open up their bathroom access to you without you having to sleep there as well? And what's the best/easiest way to maintain basic personal hygiene while on the road or backpacking? Thank you.
All right, so traveling in New Zealand in a van or a camper van is extremely popular. There are thousands of people every year when you can travel, which are traveling around New Zealand with this kind of method. It's a fantastic way to get to explore so much around New Zealand, and there are some options for you to stay for free. There's a lot of Department of Conservation places where you can do freedom camping, provided that your camper van is self-contained, where you will be able to spend the night there. But Warren is right. It is sometimes hard to find some places in which to take a shower and to get, to keep personal on top of personal hygiene as you are on the go. So there are many different options to get started, and I'm going to get started with the most out there of them all. Yes, the most out there option of them all is to go do some activities. There are some activities that will allow you to be able to take a shower afterwards. For example, blackwater rafting. Exactly. But if you plan on doing blackwater rafting, for instance, and you go down to the Waitomo area, after doing your tour and everything, you get a hot shower to warm up after the tour. And then that's a great way for you to, grab your soap and actually take your shower. So there are quite a few activities like that. Most of the activities that would get you in the water, most of the scuba diving and everything will have some showers facilities along the way as you do, when you need to do those activities. So that will make for a very expensive, shower, because obviously a blackwater rafting tour is about $400 or so, between $300 and $400. So obviously that makes for a very expensive shower, but that's a shower nonetheless. Don't worry, we do have some more options for you. I just wanted to put this one out there because it is something that some people kind of forget about. So let's get started with hostels.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, hostels do open up their doors to people that just want to come and use their facilities, like showers, even their kitchen or laundry machines are usually a really popular thing that people need to use anyway. So yeah, a lot of hostels do open their doors to people that are traveling around in camper vans. As far as I know, I think all hostels do this, but you would have to maybe double check, when you go to reception, just ask if, obviously you ask if you could come and do that. And I know for sure that the base hostels do that. And it's usually around $15 to be able to go use all their facilities if you're traveling in a camper van. But as for the rest of the hostels, I'm fairly certain you can go and use their facilities.
Yeah, most of the hostel will do that. It's a great way for them to make, $10 out of people that are usually kind of traveling around the country. So definitely a really good option, and also a very easy option. If one says no, usually you just drive down the road and there's another 2 hostels that will be very happy to provide.
There's usually quite a lot of hostels in each sort of major town in New Zealand. Also they have laundry facilities, and almost all laundry facilities for hostels in New Zealand are coin operated, or you have to go to reception and pay for some tokens for the laundry. So laundry is usually, I think it's around like $2 for washing and then $2 for drying.
But you need multiple dryers because the dryers are usually not that great. So be aware that you probably will have to pay a little bit more. So maybe it's going to be, $4 to $6 for the drying, because you don't want to have wet clothes in your van. That's going to start stinking, and that's going to be a nightmare. All right, moving on to holiday parks. That's your other option.
So holiday parks, they're actually set up for people traveling in camper vans or sleeping in tents and stuff. And holiday parks are the best places to go if you actually need to charge up your camper van. If your camper van has like things in it like an electric fridge, or it has other electric items that camper vans have. Then the holiday parks are the best place to go and use a powered site, so you can plug in your camper van and get that all recharged. They have all these sort of facilities like dump stations if you need to sort of get rid of any wastewater, or if you need to fill any water tanks. They have all the facilities there to basically maintain your camper van. But on top of all that, they have sort of communal facilities blocks, which have, again, laundries, showers and kitchens. So you can go and use those as well.
And it's highly likely that you will have to stay in holiday park anyway, about every 3 to 4 days to recharge the batteries of your van or anything like that. So, and to also empty your grey water. So it's kind of like, it's kind of is a must. There is very little amount of people and vans, they have to be quite big, that can handle being completely off the grid for very, very extended period of times, you will have to go to some of those places regularly.
Yeah. And I think most people, they do, like Robin say, do stay there. So you pay the full fee to stay there for the night. But I do think that some holiday parks allow you to just pop in to, you know, empty your wastewater and stuff like that. But you would have to go to the reception of the holiday park and see if you can go there just to sort of take a shower and stuff and move on. But I'm pretty sure most of them actually want you to stay there. So usually you do have to stay there in order to use their facilities.
All right, so another option that you have are paid toilet and shower facilities. There are some in many places all around New Zealand. So one that comes in mind is one called Superloo in the heart of Taupo Centre, city centre. And in there you will be, there is kind of it looks like the entrance of a metro station. You know, you have you have to put some coins and then you get in, and then the showers, they're coin operated, and you also have like laundry facilities and all those kind of things. So it's kind of like it's created especially for people which are traveling around New Zealand in van, and you just literally pay. And I think when you put the coins, you get like 5 minutes of hot water, and then you put another coin, you get another 5 minutes. That's basically how that works.
Yeah.
And there are some of them in selected area around New Zealand, and that's a great way for you to be able to take your shower. And that's strictly just go in, take your shower, maybe do your laundry or anything, and then leave. There is no other services whatsoever, and it's self-serviced, and it's usually open 24/7, so that's quite handy. And there are some laundry service in the same kind of vein. There are also some laundry services, like coin-operated laundry services, a little bit all around. Laundromat, a little bit all around the country as well, that you can use to do your laundry as well. But I know we're talking both about shower and laundry, just anything with hygiene.
Yeah.
All right. But your last option is to use the Department of Conservation facilities, because some of them, they're actually quite luxurious.
Yes.
Not luxurious, but they're quite good.
So the Department of Conservation runs, I think, over 100 different campsites around New Zealand. They basically, a lot of the sort of campsites that are usually the cheaper campsites that you can pay for are run by the Department of Conservation. And although they do run lots of different types of campsites, there's only a few options where they actually do showers. There are serviced campsites, which usually cost around $20 per person or per adult. There are slightly cheaper options for children fees. But at these serviced campsites, they usually have hot showers. And these are the only types of Department of Conservation campsites with hot showers. Other types of campsites where you'll have showers are scenic and standard campsites, and these are more abundant in New Zealand. The service campsites are kind of rare. I'm not quite sure how many there are, but you don't see them as often as scenic and standard campsites, and they cost usually around $15 per night per adult. But the showers they have there are only cold showers usually, so you're going to have to toughen up for those ones, but it's a shower nonetheless.
Yes.
And then for the rest of the campsites from the Department of Conservation, which are usually the cheaper ones, which only usually cost maybe about $5, or they do have free campsites as well, there's usually no showers at all. Usually there's that's the most prominent one. I just want to make that really clear, right? The free or cheap ones which don't have facilities are the most prominent one. That most, when you look at the map, you're like, oh yeah, there is campsites everywhere from the Department of Conservation. The vast majority of them are the non-serviced one. Yeah, so on these ones, they usually have a water supply, maybe a natural water supply as in a running stream or something, but not really anything too great to help you with the shower sort of side of things. But when you are looking at Department of Conservation campsites, don't just assume that they all have the same facilities. Basically, have a good look on the Department of Conservation website where they list each type of campsite, and basically the indication of how expensive it is kind of gives an indication of what facilities are there. Also, don't assume that two of the same campsite, so for example, a scenic campsite and another scenic campsite, are going to have the same level of quality of facilities. Absolutely not. It's they've all been built like throughout times, and there is a massive disparity between all of them. Not to say that they're not great places to stay at. I just want to make sure that you do have correct expectations on that. All right, Warren,
I hope that this video was useful to you. If your name is not Warren and you have some questions about traveling in New Zealand, you can join us during one of our live sessions. It's happening at 8 a.m. on Sunday, New Zealand time, every single week. There is a link in the description of this video where you can click and check out what time it will be in your side of the world. If you can't make it to any of our live sessions, but you still want your question to be answered, you can definitely put your question in the comment of any of our videos, and we pick them up exactly like we just did for Warren's, and we will answer them during one of our next live session, and then make it into a short snippet video at some point for you as well. So we like to help. And if you do find our video useful and want to support us, you can hit the like button. It's a great free way to say thank you for all our hard work. You can even subscribe if you want to learn more about traveling in New Zealand, because we're kind of fun people to hang out. And finally, if you want to plan your trip to New Zealand, you can head to NZPocketGuide.com. Link in the description below. It's the largest travel guide to New Zealand. There is thousands and thousands of articles to help you plan your trip to New Zealand. You will be so thankful you click on that link. Guaranteed. All right, let's go back to the live chat. Where were we? Extreme Talota said the Bay of Plenty is going all the way to the Bay of Plenty. It's 80 minutes game, and the ref runs a lot more than the player. Well, you must be in a great shape, my friend, if you run that much. And then he says he's going to head off so he can go set up. Thank you so much for joining us. That's awesome to have you on board every Sunday. I love that. Rock Jackable says, another question. Is it cheap to visit the South Pole for New Zealand? And is it even possible? Laura, is it? It
is possible. It's definitely not cheap.
No.
But it is possible. One way you can go to the South, well, not the South Pole, but Antarctica, is via cruises. There's a few cruise companies which have special ships which are built for going through sort of icy sort of oceans and all the crazy sort of ocean conditions that you see in the southern areas of the world. There are a few cruises, and we do have an article on NZ Pocket Guide. We did find some of these cruises which depart usually either from Invercargill or from Bluff, which is right at the bottom of the South Island. And these cruises, they usually last maybe around 20 days or something like that, taking you to some of the sub-Antarctic islands, which are actually part of New Zealand, but they're also pretty close to Antarctic. And then some of them even go into sort of on the edge of Antarctica to have a look at penguins and all sorts of fun stuff like that. So,
but you have to count like tens of thousands of dollars for those cruises. I think the cheapest one I've ever seen was $25,000.
Yeah, it's usually around that much.
New Zealand dollars.
Yeah, but we do have an article on NZ Pocket Guide. If you type in Antarctica in the search, you should find some of our tour sort of comparisons, and that should sort of give you an idea of how much they cost and where you can book those tours.
However, if you do want to experience Antarctica for about $25, you can do so in Christchurch.
Yeah. So Christchurch it's one of the places in the world, it's sort of one of the connections for flights between Antarctica and the rest of the world.
It's for like research flights or anything like that. Yeah. It's not for tourists.
There's not really sort of like commercial flights going on there. It's usually for like research expeditions and stuff. But because of this, Christchurch has sort of set up its own Antarctic Centre, the International Antarctic Centre, which is kind of like basically it's just a major tourist attraction where you can go there and experience what it would be like to be stood cold place in Antarctica and experience.
It's a very big fridge.
Yeah, you can go and experience, I think it was like minus 40 degrees
I think
or something.
So, yeah.
You can go.
You can check a video of us doing that actually.
You can, what else do they have? They sometimes have huskies there. You can go into I think they call it a Haglund, which is a vehicle which they use in Antarctica to get over the ice sheets and stuff. So you can go and have an experience over a sort of like terrain course in one of these vehicles. And they have loads of different exhibitions on and 4D cinema sort of experiences of the Antarctic. So if you're really into that sort of thing, it's definitely worth going to check out. And we do have a video of us actually going to visit the Antarctic Centre. So if you go onto YouTube, type in Antarctic Centre and NZ Pocket Guide, you will find our video and see what that's like for yourself.
Here you go. Then Rock Jacobol and Lucas are chatting together. Rock Jacobol say he's Persian, so here you go. How do you say Chatori Hanum. Is that hello, sir? I think that's what it is in Persian. I'm not sure. Hubi. That's how are you? I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I think.
I wouldn't know.
I'm not sure. Correct me, Rock Jackable, if I got that wrong. Yeah, Extreme Talota is leaving. Milan, Kuwait says, any update about student visa process and border reopening process for international students? I think that's a question for you, Laura.
Well, there has not been any official updates. Basically, there's, in terms of the borders opening, and that is connected to immigration processing and student visas and all that. There's been no updates on when that's going to get started again and when the borders are going to open, because currently right now the New Zealand borders are closed to basically visitors, international students, etc. Only citizens of New Zealand and residents of New Zealand can return to New Zealand. So yeah, basically it's not the news that you probably want to hear, but there's no new updates on when the borders will be reopening for international students. We do have a video on this channel, just sort of an indication of our personal predictions and when we think some of the borders might open.
That's going to restart by the time I get started. But yesterday, New Zealand celebrated something a little bit more different. And that is the fact that 127 years ago, New Zealand was the first country to give women the right to vote, no matter of their social status or the amount of money they had, or if they were landowner or not. So New Zealand was at the forefront of democracy for all, which is kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of worth mentioning. New Zealand always kind of like to set itself apart, and this is a great way to set yourself apart, to give everybody the right to vote. So here you go. Nice tidbits about New Zealand. 127 years ago, the country gave women the right to vote. So that's pretty cool. I think that was the first country that did that in the world.
It was indeed.
Here you go. Yeah, go New Zealand, go. Lucas was saying, a question, just an observation. Do the two of you have any other clothes? It seems that you wear the same thing every week.
Someone finally noticed.
Actually, there is some other people that actually mentioned that before.
Oh, yeah.
But you, yeah, you know what? I personally bought, I think 3 of those jumpers and 4 of those pants. When I find something that I like, I just stick with it. But yeah, we do have other clothes, and you actually can see us wearing jeans and other type of jumpers and everything. There are some videos of us wearing other stuff, but it's kind of like on a Sunday, right? We do like to go for some walks and stuff like that. So that's kind of like your walking kind of outfit. So we kind of get ourselves ready to just get out, because as soon as we finish this video, we do a bit of work over there, and then up, we're off the door. So you're kind of just ready to get out. And also, since we're a travel channel, I feel like it also kind of looks the part as well. So here you go. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, you can notice a pattern in our clothing, especially for me. I'm not ashamed to say it. I do like to buy many times the same thing. But yeah, you can see us wearing different type of clothes as well on all the other websites that we have. So if you check out Fiji Pocket Guide or Niue Pocket Guide or Tonga Pocket Guide, you can see a ton of pictures of us wearing shorts and genders and t-shirts, and look so casual and relaxed, and look at that. It's just crazy.
Yeah, we usually make it through the winter wearing these sort of merino wool hoodies and stuff, because that's sort of like
it's warm.
The warmest stuff and the stuff that's more acceptable to wear on camera. I mean, some of our merino wool clothes aren't looking too sexy, so we're kind of ashamed to wear those in front of you guys.
But then, yeah, you'll see that in summer we'll wear some different stuff as well. And the reason why I'm wearing the hat is because my hairdo is absolutely atrocious. I haven't been to the hairdresser for quite a while because of all this lockdown stuff, and you kind of you don't go, we don't do as much as, we used to do, since we're not traveling and all that, because of all this COVID-19 nonsense. So
we're kind of laying ourselves
my hair looks like that. So for this reason, I wear a hat, and I try to just hide the truth. But that's basically it. Nothing too crazy. But thanks for noticing, Lucas. I feel like only someone which is that, loyal of a viewer will notice something like that. So I really appreciate it. Rock Jackable just copied and pasted again his comments about my Persian, which wasn't great. I said, "How are you, ma'am?" rather than saying, "How are you, sir?" And then I said, "I'm doing fine." Well, at least I'm doing fine. Here you go. All right, guys, you got another 5 minutes to send us some questions, and then we'll answer all your questions. There is just that, and then you have to wait until next week. In the meantime, let me tell you a little bit about what's happening this week on the channel. We're going to be posting some travel tips. We're going to be posting some look back at New Zealand's biggest gap year as well. And I'm going to start working on some kind of courses where I'm going to do some travel in New Zealand, 101, 102, 103, and giving you a bit of tips about how to plan your trip to New Zealand, just literally from scratch, like looking at the map of New Zealand from back home and be like, what am I doing with all that? So I'm going to start working on those kind of videos. I don't know if they're going to start coming out this week, but I'm going to start working on that for you guys. So we'll go slowly and steady. You know, each kind of course should be about like 20 to 30 minutes. It's all free. It's not really a course, but it's just kind of like a different way to approach that and to help you kind of to guide you and to handhold you through your trip planning in New Zealand. And yeah, I'll be sharing my screen, so you know exactly the same that you can be doing at home with a link that you can be clicking on at home and everything. So hopefully that's going to be super helpful to you guys. It's obviously mostly for planning a trip to New Zealand. So if you're planning to move to New Zealand or studying in New Zealand and all that, that's very different, and that may not be valid for you. But if you are planning a trip to New Zealand, I'm working on that for you guys. Laura is working on NZ Pocket Guide, and she's creating some more content. Which area of New Zealand will you be covering this week?
This week I'm working on Rotorua. I just finished writing about Gisborne, and so what I'm doing at the moment is going through all the different types of like styles of travel for each destination around New Zealand. So writing some more sort of curated guides for people, for instance, for families, for foodies, for people on their honeymoon, or couples just sort of on a romantic getaway.
So if you're someone like Clay Bryant, can you find a family guide to the Tongariro area yet, or is it not available on the website
By
yet?
the end of this week, you will probably have, not this Sunday now, but by the end of next week, you will probably have a family guide to the Tongariro area. So you'll definitely...
There you go, Clay. That's fine, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, I'm working on all that stuff. Also for budget travelers as well, luxury travelers. So get it sort of doing deep dives into the different destinations in New Zealand and sort of creating guides for you guys just, to find a perfect guide according to your very unique travel style.
All right. Clay Bryant said, what was the name of the town with the mini golf, etc. you mentioned close to Tongariro? So I typed it for you because maybe I pronounced it wrong, but it's Turangi. It's basically kind of your base, and that's why we consider probably one of the best bays for doing all those activity, because you can stay in National Park Village or in Whakapapa and all that, but you will have access to more stuff if you stay in Turangi, and you still at a relatively kind of easy drive to go to the Tongariro crossing, so it may be easier. And you also have, there are playgrounds there. There's even a swimming pool if you want to. There is also hot pools. There is also the hot pool in Tokanu, but they're really not too far. And there is also even a
supermarket.
Supermarket. Can I finish my sentence? There is a trial center, so the kids really love it. You can take the kids to the trial center. There's some birds there. There is trouts, obviously. There's like aquariums and stuff, and they're really gonna love it. And it's very affordable. Yeah. So it's the National Trout Center, and it's based in Turangi as well. So maybe when you plan your trip to the North Island, maybe you want to base yourself in Turangi, and then do your activities from there. That's kind of our recommendation. There is other places where you can obviously base yourself to explore that, but I think that if you do have kids, it's a bit more of the kids-friendly kind of place to base yourself. Again, it's just our opinion, but and you have also the whitewater rafting over there. You have 2 companies for whitewater rafting, and we have a video of each of them, so we do both of them, so you can check that out. Just because we're not too far from there. So yeah, you can check us out doing all those activities. Oh, my voice is gone. Get all those activities there.
We have 19 viewers and 19 likes.
You guys are awesome.
It's
Let's
9
leave it to
o'clock.
that. Yes.
I think that is fate.
And it's September, so it's month number 9.
Oh,
Here
wow.
you go. Boom, boom, boom. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining. Any likes? No. That breaks the thing. No, it's not ruining. Thank you so much. This last person that clicked like, you're awesome. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining us for another week. I hope that we answered most of your questions in traveling in New Zealand. If you do have some more, don't worry. We'll be back here next week at 8 a.m. on Sunday. Here's the times around the world. It's probably Saturday. Laura, go for the times.
So around the world on a Saturday evening, sort of UK and France, that is 9 or 10 p.m. In the US, that's on a Saturday afternoon at 4 p.m. EST and 1 p.m. PST. In India, that's bright and early on a Sunday morning at 1:30 a.m. And in Australia, that's also early on a Sunday morning at 6 a.m.
All right. Thank you, everybody that asked question and chat with us. Thank you, Jonathan Vincent, that say thanks all. Thank you very much for just taking the time to say thank you. I know a lot of people are just watching and not asking questions because you may not have a question, and it's absolutely fine. It's really nice to just hear a bit of a thank you from Jonathan. I love it. Anthony Comstock give us 1 million emojis, which is awesome. Rock Jackable, say thank you again to both of you. And Lucas says nice being here yet again. See you next week. Take care, with a nice, lovely love heart. You guys are absolutely awesome. Thank you very much for joining us every week. In the meantime, by the way, if you do want to have some answers to your questions, you can put your question in the comments of any of our videos, or you can head to nzpocketguide.com. Thank you so much, guys. Have a lovely week. Bye-bye.
See you next week.
And stay safe.